Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, citizens, city employees, and anybody else that wants to listen. First of all, Mayor, I'd like to update you on the summary that we went over earlier. I think there's a little cleaner copy for you.
Yeah.
And it'll make a lot more sense to you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mayor.
And in the absence of my finance director, when she gets here, anything I can't answer, she'll answer.
Okay.
And if she can't answer, we'll get you an answer.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Okay. 2014, this is not a public hearing, by the way. There's been a mad rush over the past few weeks to put this budget together. As you all know, we've had our challenges with financial issues throughout the entire year. But we're in good shape, I think, as far as having a handle on everything now. And we just overlooked that, and when I was going over it this afternoon, when we in finance put this together for you. In your budgets, which you will get budget books if you have not already received them, they're on the way. They're very hot off the press. I think you might be able to steal the copy material from it. I want to brag on the finance department. I wish they were here. I'm gonna wait till we get here to brag on them. We'll go ahead and get started with the presentation.
Okay.
There's been several things that I want to talk to you about. First, y'all challenged us earlier, when I say us, staff, to go out to the financial world and see if we could find lower rates on our debt, different finance, anything we could do to improve our debt position. We've done that. The airport debt for the debt service we had at the airport, I believe it was $600,000 or $700,000. Ameris Bank lowered that interest rate from 5-point-something% down to 2.15% or 2.51%. And they didn't charge us any refi fees. Now, good news, CityNet debt, the $6 million note we have at First Community Bank. We went out to different bonding agencies and financial institutions. Came back to First Community Bank, had a discussion with them, and tomorrow that note should be reduced from 5.15% to 3.25%. It'll come down from a 20-year note down to a 5-year note. We're gonna save the city about $3 million doing that. Our intention is to retire that debt within 36 months. How are we gonna do that? We don't have any money. True, well, we have SPLOST funds now. If you'll recall, in the SPLOST 5 referendum, we had $4.5 million in there to retire that debt. We've used $350,000 of it this year. We intend to find the balance of the $1.5 million before we do the note tomorrow, and only have to finance $4.5 million. The only reason we're financing it for 5 years instead of the 36 months is just in case something happens. Prime example of something happening in Mr. Terrell's district, we had some stormwater pipes cave in. The initial cut on that was about $12,500 to make that repair, just for material. That wasn't a budgeted item. We picked that up out of SPLOST. When we got over there after the last rain, we had more pipe caving in. We have to find another $15,000 to finish that project. And it's probably gonna run closer to, rather than 27, it's gonna probably run about $35,000. That's about 400, almost 500 feet of pipe. That's a very small section. You see the cost that we have to incur to replace those types of infrastructure. With that said, if y'all have any questions about that? Okay. This year, we've got a $2.7 million increase in the budget. And much of that increase is pure personnel costs. And if you, when you get your budgets, which I don't know why they're not here, they'll come in and go. when you see your budgets, when you see the salaries and all the benefits, all the personnel costs in those budgets, those are real numbers. They're not estimated numbers, they are actual numbers based on what every single employee is making today. It's actual numbers on the retirement benefits that we have to pay, the health care benefits, and all other insurances that we have to pay for every single employee. Intermission. I'm gonna brag on my finance staff now.
That came late. Sorry.
They were here at 3 o'clock
Together.
this morning, okay? They were here at 3 o'clock this morning. Karen and Lois and Deborah.
Deborah, Judy.
Judy. And they've been putting in 15-hour days for about the past 3 weeks. So, I don't know what else I can say. They're awesome. They're doing a heck of a job. They're pulling these things together. And,
We know they have. We ride by, I can't sleep sometimes, like, well, the lights are on it. They were never working.
and they've done a wonderful job. Now, having said that, let me just say that you may find an error in this budget.
Thank God they're human.
But they've done, under the circumstances, I think they've done a yeoman's job, if you will. I hate that term, so I can say years in the Navy, and they did like yeoman. But anyway, thank you, Lois, Karen, and the gang. We talked, and thank the staff. I mean, we pulled this entire thing together, all the department heads, all the city employees. We have actually pulled this thing together in less than 4 weeks, essentially. But they're real numbers, and it's transparent. Tonight, we're gonna talk about general fund. As you all know, enterprise funds are supported by user fees, and general fund tax dollars, unfortunately, can't tap into any of those funds. All right, here's the highlights. The budget's balanced, but it's balanced with a 3 mil tax increase. We have a decrease in intergovernmental revenue. We got a decrease in fund balance. The UGA salary study begins January 14. I put that as a note in there to remind me that if we can, and I promise this to the employees of the city of Tifton, if we can find the revenue to implement the university study, and that's just, it's not a pay raise, if you will, for lack of a better term. The university study is a organizational and compensation study, or compassion study, if you will. Because we've gone from 300 employees down to 330 or 234 employees, the employees here in Tifton have had to take on additional duties. What the University of Georgia did for us, for the Carl Vinson Institute, they went through the entire city, they looked at all the job descriptions, they rewrote the job descriptions to reflect what people are actually having to do now. And the adjustments that came with that, some of the pay grades that people were in were inappropriate. So they've adjusted that pay grade to reflect the compensation that the employees are due because of the additional workload they've taken on.
And that's based on other jobs in the state of Georgia, right?
It's based on the comparisons with other cities, national averages, and everything else. All communities our size.
Okay,
We didn't go compare ourselves to Atlanta, because we
Right.
all know we pay raw a little bit down here, but if you get the same services in Atlanta at $600 an hour.
yeah. Okay.
You feel underpaid, man?
I do.
And then the other part of it addresses is compassion. We have people right now working in the city of Tifton that have been here 7, 8, 10, 11 years, and they're making 4 cents an hour more than what somebody comes to work for us today makes.
Yeah.
And we're recommending Plan B. It was presented to you at the last council meeting we had. And that's market. We didn't go below market, we didn't go above market, we stayed right with what the market recommends at this time. It's 100, what's that number, 172,000 if you do the equity adjustment, which is a compaction issue, and it's $46,000 if you don't address compaction. That's the cost of the plan. I want to mention that to you because we're going to do a mid-year budget review, and in January, we're going to update council on where we are. We will have a lot better handle on what the actual numbers are because we will only have the fiscal year 12 budget completed. We'll also have the fiscal year 13 budget well underway or completed by then.
Hopefully complete.
Yes. So I just want to bring that up to you. In this budget, if you recall last year, we left 2 positions. There's 51 sworn officer positions in the police department. We left 2 of those sworn officer positions vacant for the first 6 months of the year. So we could save that money. And I thank police chief for that. Fortunately, or unfortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, it didn't make any difference because we had about 6 positions vacant anyway at that time. The removal of the bandwidth amortization cost. If you recall, when we were going through the summary, there was $250,000 in there. It was a non-cash transaction. That's the 10-year benefit of free fiber connectivity throughout the city of Tifton that was provided in the deal when we sold the city net. And we just have to write that off the books. Funding for police and fire, capital improvements. We have in the radio or communication side of those 2 departments, and public works to some extent, but not to a great extent. We have an update that's coming to the 911 center and the radio communication center for the Tifton Tift County. That was a fund that was taken over 100% by the county a couple of years ago. The upgrade to that 911 center is $3.4 million. That's making it a P25 compliant system, which basically you go from analog technology to operating in the cloud or digital technology. You can do everything over software now, the adjustments to it. The radios that we currently have, we're going to do upgrades to the software package to our current radios, and that's about $77,000 to do the upgrade on those radios. We have to do that. It's not an option, or we won't be able to communicate with anybody else. In July 14, is that when they're going live with that?
Whenever the 911 center goes operations, that's the way to take the operation.
That's right. So we're going to go ahead and do it so we can talk when they flip the switch. There's $100,000 in each department to buy new radios. Now, why are we buying new radios? And what they tell us, 5 to 7 years, buddy? In 5 to 7 years, the radios that we're about to upgrade are going to be obsolete. They won't service them anymore. You might as well throw them in the garbage can. It's going to cost about $1 million to buy new radios for the departments, for fire and police. So what we're proposing to do is to start setting $100,000 a year aside for each department, and when the 5-year mark hits, we will have $1 million in the bank to go out and buy new radios so we can continue to talk over our 911 system. That's what that improvement's about. The other thing is we got debt service in the budget for 8 police cars and a fire truck. That's elevated fire truck. And then we have debt service in the budget for public works equipment. As you well know, we have not replaced any equipment to any great extent since about 2006, maybe 7 at the earliest. And dump trucks only last so long, excavators only last so long. The list of equipment they gave us is about 15 pieces, if I remember correctly. They would have asked to replace about 35, but we knew that wasn't practical, so we didn't ask for it. These are the fund balance over the past several years. If you look down here on the bottom line, you can see the fund balance at the end of each year. We're starting in 2005, if I'm not mistaken, there's a chart on this. But we're going across, we were at 3, 4, 5, 5, and we're back down to 4 in 2009. And we looked at audit numbers of 4.5, 4.3 and 11, 4.3 and 12, and 4.3 and 13. It's flat. No progress there. All right, where do revenues come from? If you look down the side, these are where all of our revenues are. Property tax, franchise tax, every revenue that we have that comes into the city. The FY12 actual audited numbers were 11.7 million, and the revised budget was for 12 was 1.5 million, and 13 it was 12.4 million, and then we're proposing for FY14, we're estimating our revenues at $12.5 million. That's a $143,000 increase. Talk about the tax digest. Our tax digest for inside the corporate limits actually went up $8 million this year. Out of that $8 million, they only tax 40% of it, so you actually realize a $21,000 revenue off of the $8 million property tax. All right, so you can put it up there.
Click on that mouse.
I got it. All right. That's just a pie chart of what we just went over. Where do the tax dollars go? Out the window. Okay, general fund. This is it. We have council, general government, municipal court, police department, fire department, public works, cemetery, senior citizen center, nutrition program, code enforcement, and debt service. If you notice here, the debt service is, what is that, that's a change. 112, okay, talking about debt service. In the retirement fund, we had, back in 08 or 09, we had to make a $2 million contribution to the retirement fund because for the unfunded liability so that we can keep the state government happy. Our actuary said, if you don't do this, you're gonna be in trouble. He wanted $3 million. We couldn't do $3 million. So he agreed that if we would make annual payments for the next 5 years, that he would take the other $1 million and finance it over a 5-year period at 5%. So we did that. And I think, are we in our 3rd year? What was our 4th year? 3rd year. This is our 3rd year. I mentioned this to y'all at a workshop, or a council meeting, I don't remember which one, about going ahead and retiring that debt this year. We have already set aside $300,000 for this year's debt service payment. That's in the bank. We're gonna pull in from other funds on a pro rata basis, the other $221,000 to go ahead and retire that debt this year in FY13, so that we can free up $221,000 in next year's budget so for additional revenue. That money is coming, $137,000 of that debt service next year is general fund debt service. So, and the other debt is spread across the unprized funds on a pro rata basis. So we freed up, what is that, about 2/3 of the mill? Or a third of the mill, something like that. We freed up that money by retiring the debt early. This is just a pie chart where the money goes. And why we are where we are today. Y'all saw this slide last year. We came back. All right, ad valorem taxes. Right here. That was a peak. This is 2008 when the economy went in the tank. 2009, we hadn't realized it down here yet. In 2010, it hit. And then 11 and 12, it's creeped up a little bit. And the tax digest has actually grown less than $8 million that we talked about just previously. Local option sales tax. This is good. In 2006, we were at $2.9 million. In 2012, we're at 2.8 million. So we hadn't even caught up to 2006 yet. And we're at 2.8 million again in FY12, or 13 rather. And we're still below what we were back in 06. And we're projecting next year $2.8 million in lost revenue. So we're flat. That's $16,000 different from the previous year. Can you see that there?
Yeah.
I want to draw to your attention also, hate to go back, but look at Public Works. And the FY12 audited numbers, these were their expenditures, $2.6 million. And the proposed budget for 2014, $2.2 million. We've actually reduced that Public Works budget by $400,000 in the past 2 years. Gas fund transfers, we all know what happened to the gas fund. We used to transfer in about $600,000 a year. Gas fund got poor, started running out of money in 2008. We reduced it. We could only take $300,000 out of it. 9 and 10, we took $450,000. And FY11, we took $100,000. That was supposed to be $200,000 transfer. We didn't have $200,000 in the gas fund to transfer. So we didn't take the $100,000. That's all it was there. I want to remind you about the gas fund. When that gas bill comes in, we have 10 days to pay it. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. They send you the bill via email now. I get a copy of it as soon as it comes out. It pops up in my inbox. Donna gets it at the same time. We process the PO and pay it immediately. You have an option. And over the highest bill we had, Donna, was $580,000. Somewhere.
We have for it to be higher, but that means we sell more.
Yeah, that's true. But you just have to have that kind of money in reserve, in the fund, so that you can pay that bill.
How much did you say Bill was usually about? What did you say, 5?
The highest bill in the past few years, I thought it was higher. I thought we had $1 million bill in there, but apparently I was wrong. It was 500, was it 580, Donna?
Back in 05 and 06, we had $1 million bills, but the
That's
last 2 or 3 years have been around 500,000 in the high peak months.
But with the agricultural loads that we've taken on,
Yeah.
if we get a cold year,
We only touched the surface with our ag customers this year. We really don't know how much it'll be next year, but we see great potential there, great potential.
and there again, I would, if we have a cold winter, we had a kind of cold winter this year, not much, but if we have a cold winter, that bill would go through the roof. Or if the price of gas goes up, it would go through the roof. That money's no longer there to transfer, as the point I'm trying to make. That's why we got where we are today. We were robbing all these other funds to pay the bills, and now we've depleted our savings accounts. There's just not any money there, and I'll talk to you some more about that in a minute. When I say there's not money there, there is some money there, but that's not what it really is. Last year, in addition to what we already talked about, this is what council has done to avoid having to make a military increase. We cut all outside agencies. Last year, we were gonna cut the library to $69,000, and somebody found money someplace, and we were able to fund it for $139,000. We're down from 300 employees to 64 employees now. I'm talking about full-time employees. And I'll give you a copy of this. I'll email this presentation to you. The employees of the city of Tifton have had a 3% increase in pay since in the past 6 years. That's all they've had. In actuality, they've actually had a pay cut because when the FICA went back up 2% and their health insurance has gone up. We had a $95,000 increase in health insurance this year. I don't remember what it was last year. We actually have been, the year before that, we got hit pretty hard. I don't remember what it was. We've had some bad years. When I say bad years, high cost claims, and that drives your health insurance rates up. So,
Larry, is the workforce, the 64 employees down, is that over a period of like since 2008 or 9?
since about 2008.
Okay.
that may not be exact.
All right,
The
but
number
several
is
years.
pretty close, over a period of the past few years. We're now using temporary staffing, services. And the reason that saves you money, in some cases it really doesn't save you money, but it prevents you from hiring an employee and finding out you put them on payroll, it affects your health costs and your insurance costs and all these other costs. By going through temporary services, they handle all that, we just pay an elevated cost for that position. We as a workforce, as you well know, we've all taken on additional duties and responsibility. Take on vehicles, the only people that take on vehicles now are on-call personnel and police department. Essential personnel and the police department that live in Tifton. And no funding or restoration of the city's retirement plan. We didn't do anything about it. All right. This is the tax digest. You saw that on the chart earlier. And this is the millage rate. This is what we've done as a city council since 1999 rather. This has been an increase. We were at 5 and 4.5. And why does this thing keep doing that, Steve?
It's Windows update.
They don't like me. I'm a genius when it comes to electronics. I can just look every time. All right, we were at 5 in 1999, went down to 447. Went up 6 times in 2005. In 2006, we actually rolled it back a few $1,000. I think it was about $65,000 rollback at that time. Since 2007, it has been flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We haven't raised the millage rate in 8 years. We're proposing a 3 mil millage rate increase this year to balance the budget as it currently exists. And keep in mind, we're not talking about retirement. We're not talking about staffing. We're not talking about contingency. And if we don't do this increase, that's not going to happen. And even if it does happen, you're not going to address staffing. You're not going to address the EGA paid compensation package.
And you said we were in your presentation. Because I'm confused about that.
Okay. In the present budget, it includes $300,000 in contingency, it's on the sheet again.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It addresses the contingency, it addresses staffing, that's 1.5 positions in code enforcement, and that's all it addresses.
Right.
Rather than the 2
Yeah.
positions that were
Yeah.
not funded full-time in the fire department. Retirement's not addressed in the
Right,
budget.
and,
So,
well, the UGA study was
Staff-
one of those.
staff.
It was. The UGA
and
study.
it's not funded. I put it up there to remind me, to remind you that when we do the mid-year budget review in January, that if funds are available, I would like to fund
Okay.
that
All right.
from
That's-
January to July.
That's what I was confused about.
Okay.
Sorry. I can do that.
Doesn't take much for me.
How much does it cost the city residents? If you go up 3 mills, the current senior citizen property tax exemption is $25,000. Now, the legislature did approve us to go to $35,000 on seniors. That has to go on the November referendum before we can put it into effect. And I don't see any reason that would pass. But it will cost you. That's wrong. I told you it might be better. Is that 45,000? Is that right? I thought we figured it was 60. $45. I thought that was 60. 69 and 120. We'll check that number.
Yeah, we'll check it.
But this is seniors last year, we requested 2 meals, and 2 meals at that time was $30 a year increase on a $100,000 home.
Yeah, and that's on a home that has the home figure.
with the senior citizen home exemption. A regular taxpayer that has $100,000 home, 3 meals will make that go up $90 a year.
Oh, it's 120, but you gave me something.
That's close if you got a commercial property. If you don't have an exemption, it goes up $120 on $100,000 base property.
Oh, okay, I see what you did.
So you're,
Yes, yes. Yeah.
any commercial property you might
Right,
have,
right. No,
even
no,
if it's rented, if it's
no
rented
senior
property,
citizen discount.
No discounts on that.
Yeah.
we're in the same boat.
Yeah.
All right, so we're not talking about a lot of money, folks. If you break that down, you're talking, if that number is 60, that's $5 a month. That number's 120, that's $10 a month. Increase on $100,000 home. That's all we're talking about.
Except for those many people that have maybe $1 million.
That's some of them, boss. I'm in the same boat you're in. I don't have $1 million, but that's what this is. Let me say for the record that I hate taxes,
Yeah,
but they're a necessary evil.
yes, they are.
And, I know the folks that are gonna come and talk about these tax increases are people that have a lot of property. And I don't blame them, I'll be upset about it too, but you know what? We, as a city council, as a city manager, have a job to do. And we've got to fund this city so they can operate. Cuts will be made if millage is not increased. No contingency funding in the $300,000 is going again. You remember we had this in last year with demo and cleanup? That's a continued unfunded project. Code enforcement positions, $45,000. Additional cuts to the general fund. Those $336,000 in cuts are your radios that we're doing the sinking fund on, so in 5 years we can put them all new radios in there. We'll have to take that out. We'll have to take out the 8 police cars, and we'll have to take out the public works equipment. That's the other $136,000. And we'll have to continue to reduce our hours of operation for crime suppression. But what are we at in overtime right now?
We're a little better than $33,000 over budget.
I mean, what's our monthly expenditures in overtime about?
I don't know, we spent $100,000 this year.
In overtime.
That's not counting grant money, that was, the budget $67,000 because of vacancies, we spent $100,000. We have an issue here, folks, right here. We've got if you look at the police department, we got 37 people in patrol. And because of our reduced workforce, we're gonna burn some people out on overtime. Somebody's gonna make a mistake and somebody's gonna get hurt if we have to continue to work with these people as hard as we're gonna work.
We're generally, what, we 100% staff is 51 officers.
In patrol, 100% staff is 37 officers.
Okay, in trouble. Okay.
I don't think we have any vacancies in the other balance of that 14 position.
Count SROs, there's a total of 8 vacancies right now. Our park report turned to resident today, and we have 2 more that, we got 1 leaving in August, I've already been told, so. And we still have 2 on medical leave and 1 on military leave.
These are all out of patrol.
Yes, sir.
We even have a crime suppression unit right now.
You got 26 people doing the job, 30 more. That's what you got. Next step. We have public hearings scheduled. Y'all know what the schedule is. It's been advertised in the newspaper. Last night about 9 p.m., I got an email from our HR director, and Lois and I were on the phone with Chuck Carter, Dave Actuary, and he came back with a number of what it would cost to unfreeze the 2008 retirement plan for the city of Tifton. Can you tell me about that plan? under the scenario that he presented, the employees would not have to make any contributions to the plan, any of the employees. And that's rolling all the city of Tifton employees into the new plan. All 234. And it would guarantee that anyone whose plan was frozen under a defined benefit plan, the old and good plan, that no one would receive a retirement for less than what they had accrued up to the time the plan was frozen, even if they participated in the new plan. Okay? That's for no contributions.
I thought it froze in 2010. You said 2008.
October 10th was frozen. We changed the plan in 2008 from defined benefits to defined contribution.
That's what I mean, we did it in 2010.
Frozen at 10.
Right.
Okay, so what does it cost to do that? $727,000 and some change. Cost $730,000 that the city of Tifton will have to come up with immediately to put into the retirement fund to fund that liability that we've accrued between 2008 or 2010 and 2013. That's the cost, so we cannot go and hold it.
So that, okay, I see what I'm going to hold. What was the 1.2? Is this just a new number? Never mind. Okay. 7.7, I got you.
Okay? And the city of Tifton would have to contribute $45,000 in addition to the $1.7 million that we're already putting in. And I'm just using around one. Okay? That's one option. The very least expensive option that he came up with was that, and this could be a transition plan. This would not necessarily be where we're going to wind up with our retirement plan, but at least it's a plan that we could implement immediately for the employees. And that would be the 2008 plan. Anyone that came to work after 2008 would make a mandatory contribution to the plan. And if we did the mandatory contribution, that's based on your percent of your total salary. The total salary for the city of Tifton is about $7.5 million a year, which is $345,000, which would mean that we would not have to make any more, we wouldn't have, in addition, there would not be any contributions in addition to the $760,000 that we'd have to pump into the plan immediately. But we got to find $760,000 to do this, or $727,000, I'm sorry. I don't know where we can find $727,000. We might look at it later on, but at this point in time, we don't have $727,000 to dump into that plan. Now, having said that, let me back up. Even if you do this, make these cuts on the board here, without a military increase, you make these cuts, we're still $336,000 over. The budget will not be balanced.
336.
Unless we cut another $336,000 out of the budget.
That's the bottom line on this piece of paper.
Okay. I told you I'd tell you the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God, that's what I'm gonna do. We don't have any money. Well, that's not necessarily true. In the general fund, we have about $1 million. I think it's $979,000 or something like that. In capital equipment replacement. Okay? The money's there, but from July, you'll recall when we went through this earlier, when we did the financial update in my office with each one of them. From July to October, The only revenue we have coming in over the loss, hotel, motel, and things like that, is the insurance premium tax, which this year was $800-something thousand. Remember the previous year it was $1 million something. I was with Lynn under the road the other day, and she said it's not hot enough yet, man, we need more heat. So, we have to have money to operate on between July and October when the taxes start coming in, or November 1st. Bills go out in September, and there'll be some money trickling in October. But if you remember from the financial report we did in the office, in October, we're gonna be $222,000 short unless the taxes, $225,000 worth of property taxes comes in. And that $979,000 in capital equipment, that's what we're gonna operate on, so we don't have to go to the bank and borrow money.
So it's always spoken
Yes, sir. It costs $1 million a month to operate the city of Tifton. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, folks, but all our past bad deeds and bad decisions are public police. We brought all the savings accounts, we brought all the retained earnings. Last year we brought funds carried forward. We had to bring in $250,000 from the previous year just to budget, to balance last year's budget. There you have it. We have budgets to hand out to you. They're line item budgets. I would like to, if y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to meet with any of you anytime, and I'll change my schedule to do whatever we need to do. But between now and the workshop on the 20th, we have the first budget hearing. Is that the budget hearing or the military?
We'll have a military hearing and a budget hearing on 20. Have two military hearings and one budget.
That's right. Right. My question to council is, and Mayor, would you all like to sit down with staff? I know this year we didn't have an opportunity to do it with staff for council, but Lois and I did sit down with, and Karen, we all sat down with every department head in the general fund. I'll be honest with you, I have not really looked at the enterprise funds yet, but I'm confident they're very good shape. If you would like to, schedule meetings to go through the budgets with any of the staff members or any of the department heads, I'd be absolutely delighted to do that. I'd like to do it all at one time if you want to do that. We can do it, set aside a morning, get the highlights. But when you look at the budgets and you go through the line items, you'll see that there's no fluff in this budget, folks. It is what it is. There's no elevated revenues. We took the revenues as they had trended. The property taxes, the local option sale, you see these deficits, that's where we reduced the revenues because they just weren't what they said they were, or what we said they were. This is actual good estimates based on previous revenues, actual revenues. So if y'all would like to sit down with staff, we will do whatever you want us to do. I know that you don't like to have homework on the weekends, but we do what we have to do. And I'm gonna send the finance department home tonight.
Yeah.
They'll be back Monday.
I want you to repeat for Latasha out there. Be sure the paper gets this, but how long since we've given an employee COLA? You say 6 years, 8 years.
6 years, cost of living,
6 years since we've given a cost of living.
merit, it's a merit slash cost of living.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted Latasha to be sure you heard that.
And the retirement plan is still frozen.
Yeah.
So I will entertain any question you may have at this point.
Can we get a copy of the budget?
Yes, sir.
I need you to explain to me again what you just explained once, I don't understand that. And it can be later after this meeting, it doesn't have to be right now.
Well,
But I need to meet with you and get that, I need to understand that.
we'll go over the,
Like everybody else when I meet, I'll be happy to meet with you.
does everyone understand what I mentioned about unfreezing the 2008 retirement plan?
Yeah.
Everybody understand?
727.
Oh, I don't, so.
Larry, I do wanna meet with you on some stuff.
Okay. Whatever you want to do, you do, boss man. I'm all about it.
And the statement I made a while ago, the investors that have money, I wouldn't do it because of me, I care less about me. I am concerned about those citizens out there that are laid off, that are out of work, the economy's awful. But we're a mess too. And we didn't get this way overnight.
No, this is, that is there. This been going on for years.
You can email something powerful, right?
Yeah.
Email with PowerPoint presentation too, and check that $45. Right.
Well, I must say that I will still be looking for ways that we can reduce some of the cost in the budget. I think that the retirement plan is a critical thing that we need to work on. I think that, University of Georgia State is a very important thing for us to consider. And I just wonder what we can cut, what, and services that we cut, you know, maybe we have to look at the Hager glass number. Maybe
Well-
we don't, you know, to increase our budget by 44% in a year is a really difficult thing for me to think is what we ought to do.
Well, we have to look at where those increases come from.
Yeah,
You got to keep in mind that the enterprise funds are included in that,
right,
and we're talking about general fund money here.
I know that.
How much general fund will it this year?
Property taxes.
None of that, how much the expenditures go up in that part of it? You know?
242,000.
Yeah, general fund went up $243,000.
Mhm.
And that's just, I can tell you where that is. We did a reallocation of the retirement liability based on, this is a good one for you, I'm glad you brought that up. The, previously, prior to FY2014, the retirement liability was spread across funds equally. This year, and this is how true this budget is, this year, all of the personnel costs associated with each individual employee is allocated to that department.
And that is, I congratulate you for doing it that way.
So if you look at the police department,
Mhm.
and you look at the fire department, and when you look at the line item in that budget,
Mhm.
you will see that one of them went up 137,000, and one of them went up 140, was it 140 or 150,000? Anyhow, they went up
Right.
$100-something thousand each. That's your $240,000 increase in budget.
In the general
in
fund.
the general fund. But those, everything is allocated
Where it-
equitably
Right, right,
on a pro rata basis, and it's done where it's supposed to be done.
right.
Essentially, what we've been doing by taking the total liability divided by the number of departments you have, or the number of salaries in the department, that's not fair. I mean, look at the gas department, they have 9 people. They're part of that $1.7 million share, and 1.7 divided by 9,
No.
but it's allocated to where it is supposed to be.
okay, we set up sort of this pattern over the years of borrowing from next year's budget, borrowing from these funds. If we do this, if this proposed budget goes into effect, do you anticipate us having to borrow additional money from next year's budget like we've had to do in the past?
If the budget goes into place without a millage rate increase, we have to go back and find $336,000.
Which in the past, what we've done is borrowed from next year's money and brought it in.
We brought in money from the fund balance.
Fund balance, okay.
Money rolled forward.
Okay.
You took it out of the savings account.
Right, exactly. Okay, so then the other question is, aside from the, police department and the positions that we need to fill there, if we were to truly, I want to make sure that I've got on my notes what you and I talked about the other day, if we were to truly fill all of the positions that probably should be filled, but we're not going to, we're really about 20 or so people short if we were to fully staff the city so that it could operate in its most effective manner, we'd need to hire about 20 people.
Okay.
Is that a fair statement?
24 people.
24 people.
I'll just go over the numbers real quickly.
Okay.
In the public works department, we rolled a bunch of departments together over the past couple of years. But in public works alone, in the street department, we went from 29 positions down to 18. Okay? That's 11 positions. That includes the public works director and the street superintendent. What was the other one down second?
We have municipal court,
Municipal court staff.
general government,
Municipal court is down one.
code enforcement.
We got code enforcement in this
We've
year's
got that
budget.
covered. Public works was 9.
That should be 11. I made a mistake.
Okay. And then general government, we talked about that, kind of executive management. So we're not going to fund those, well, the other was police department, but we talked about that, that's handling this, and 1.5, or 1, I guess, in code. So, but we're still short about 20 people roughly
Right.
that we're not going to fill those positions.
That's correct.
And this budget also has no impact, I'm going to reiterate that, no impact upon the people that work for the city. It's just,
I mean, it has a hell of an impact on the people that work for the
no, I'm
city.
talking about they get no, there's no equity adjustment, there's no unfreezing retirement, there's no pay changes, there's no, none of that has been
There-
touched with this new
There
budget.
are no benefits in this budget
Right.
to increase any of the benefits the city puts in.
That's what I'm talking, when I say it doesn't impact the people, that's what I mean, as far
No
as.
positive impact.
No positive impact, that's a better way to
That's
put it, okay. So we're 20 positions short, we have no positive impact, we're just going to continue to operate at a bare bones minimum with this proposed budget.
That's correct. With the 3 mil increase.
Right, exactly.
But if you don't do a millage rate increase, then we have to cut $336,000 from the general fund. Police, fire, public works. And if you look around the city, we can't keep up now, guys. The streets got grass going through the sidewalks, and shoulders of the road are knee-high, parks look like junk. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say it, but that's the truth.
It is the truth, you're absolutely right. There's no question about that.
And I will entertain any help from anyone to, if we can do this better. I don't care who it is.
Well, I think Mariana makes a good point in that if we can't make this work, then we're gonna have to decide what services are we gonna do without.
That's right. Now, I'll tell you this. And I'm not recommending this by any way, but I did a little bit of math. With Mariana the other day, we had quite a good conversation,
Yeah.
actually. We fixed the problem that I missed. When you start talking about positions, to find the $336,000 that we would need to find, if you take what was it, $10 an hour? No, it was a police officer. You take a $15, a $30,000 a year position. just in salary alone, and salary and benefits,
Right,
that's about $335,000, if I remember correctly.
right, it was.
So that's 7 people in the general fund that make $10 an hour or $15 an hour. That's 7 $15 an hour positions you have to fill, regardless of what they are.
Cut them by,
I mean, cut the position completely,
Just eliminate the.
eliminate the position.
well, we don't want to cut it, do we?
Well, no, we don't.
I mean, we haven't even talked about,
We need public works folks to.
Yeah, but I, well, you know, I was saying, but,
And people that rate strong part, we
Yeah.
need those folks.
I mean, we won't even talk about.
We don't wanna talk about-
Sure ain't gonna talk about
Right,
cutting.
cutting.
But the bottom line, guys, is, you know, we have cut and cut and cut and cut. We gotta increase revenues.
That's right.
If you keep cutting positions or freezing positions, I mean, you call Chief Daly, he's sitting here. Give us a little scenario on hiring a police officer.
Well, the average patrolman right now has less than 4 years' experience. That's the patrolman on the street right now. And when we get these, experienced guys from the 30, 35 years of age, and find out they don't have retirement, they walk away. That's the biggest knob right now in our recruitment is the retirement.
How we doing in the fire department, Chief?
We recently lost one valued employee for that very reason, because of our retirement benefits package. It wasn't the pay scale, it wasn't the working conditions, and I'm afraid we're about to lose 2 more. I can't predict that, but I've got it on pretty good authority. In fact, both of them have come to me, and they're some of our youngest, brightest people that are looking for positions in other fire departments, in other cities, closer to home, of course, but primarily because they don't see a future in retirement here. And that is what they've spoken to me. I did not solicit that. I mean, I can tell you this, and everybody sitting in this room could, that is one of the most, if not the most foremost and pervasive thing on employees' minds today, is this retirement plan. I hear it every day.
Chris?
Same thing.
Echo?
Yep.
Donna?
I've had 4 in the last 2 weeks go for interviews elsewhere, and me already being 9 down in, or 11 down in the street department.
They have any experience, any certifications? Like
Well, we just
Sylvester,
completed the,
Ashburn, Fitzgerald, Douglas, it's within driving distance.
it's easy to go, and they're hiring. And we just completed the CHAPS program. And one of the things that was really impressive, that knowing that we were coming into this budget time, kind of brought me back to center. The people that came and made the presentations, all the department heads that came and made the presentations at the CHAPS department, did such a phenomenal job. And they would stand up there and say, I've been with this city for 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, however long it's been, a long time. And with that comes all that knowledge, all that memory, all the classes, all the training, living the life, you know, through the whole time frame. And what happens when those people go? If we can't attract new talent to come in to absorb that and work with these people who have all of that experience, when they go, what are we gonna do? We have got to be planning for our future. We can't recruit talent. We can't hire people. One, because we don't even have money to hire people. But number 2, we can't be competitive with the Douglases and the Ashburns. People, come on, I mean, really. You know, Fitzgerald, you name it. Our sister cities that are well within driving distance for any of us. We have got to be able to recruit talent. We've got to be able to keep police officers and the fire department. And I have had the privilege of going and talking to every single one of these departments. And that was the first thing that they said. 1, thank you for being here. 2, tell me about the retirement. Tell me about my future with this city. And you have to look at them and say, you know, we're all concerned. And I did speak on all of our, you know, we are all concerned. It's on all of our minds. It's something we are extremely concerned about. But I think if we don't do something, and I don't know what the answer is, I'm not saying it's raise millage, if that's what it is, that's what it is. I don't think we can cut anywhere else, but we're not gonna be doing these citizens any service if we don't recruit talent to come in and replace, when Donna Pate, who's been here for 262 years, right, Donna? Donna's been here forever. But she has so much knowledge. She knows, she's got more knowledge in her little finger about that department out there than probably anybody that could work under her for the next 5 years could ever gain. How are we gonna transfer that? So that's my concern, is bringing in, is recruiting talent, keeping our city fully staffed to the point that, one, we are an economic engine. We can compete with other communities when it comes to economic development outside of ourselves. And serving the citizens, we all have a responsibility that we have to take on. Every man, woman, child, business owner, everybody, we all have a responsibility to step up to the plate. And if we're talking about increasing taxes, I own property in the city, I own multiple properties, I'm very fortunate with that. I have business here. It's a tax I would impose upon myself, but I would do so gladly because this is my town and I want my community to succeed. And I want safe streets so that when I drive home tonight, I can see a police officer, I can pass someone patrolling my neighborhood. I want to know if I have an issue, I can call that fire department, they'll be there in a second. Or if a pipe bursts out in my front yard, I can call Donna and she'll have someone there immediately. So it's just that important.
But this budget that we're looking at tonight does not, even with a 3 mil increase,
It doesn't
does not address that
I
at
know,
all.
you're right, and that's what's so scary. That's what's,
So-
and I think what happens, I think we've got to start here, and I think next year we got to have the same conversation, and the next year the same conversation, and we've got to figure out a way to fix it. I think we're so far in the hole, it seems hopeless to me right now, to be quite honest. I don't know how we get out of it.
I'm gonna be the eternal optimist. I'm gonna say that this economy's gonna turn around. And we're gonna have some increases in revenue. I hope we do, but I really do.
But I'm gonna ask you this, I sit here and I listen. I hear Donna, hear the chief, having people leave us to go not that far. I just heard it wasn't a long driving distance to go somewhere else. And I know the millage rates basically in Douglas and other places, they are, they're going through the same economy bust that we're going through. Isn't it crazy? They're surviving, we're not. Because we've had more than just the economy bust our family.
Have you had have you looked at the military in Turner County lately?
No,
You don't want to.
how much is,
About 43 on the city, county, and schools.
how much is it just for the city?
I don't remember that number, but it's more than ours.
It's about 12, I think.
Yeah, you look up
Well,
there.
in the city,
I think
Yeah, but
so.
now there is a structure a little bit different.
I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, they're
I
structured.
haven't looked at the details. We did a survey sometime back on millage rates. I don't remember the number. I just know what I have to write it, I write a check with Turner County.
I just want to reiterate, we didn't get here just yesterday.
Now, this has been
That
going
was a
on,
long time ago.
this has been something that's been going on for years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this didn't happen overnight.
Mr. Attorney, I just saw Jack Perry raise his hand, a man that I'm very fond of. Is there any way I can let him say something?
Sure.
Okay, Jack.
I'd just like to ask a question. I kind of remember following through how we got problems with trying to build our retirement fund back up and all of this, and you're talking about the debt. Have we got a 10 or 15-year projection on out here as to how some of these expenses are going? And when are we gonna run out and get rid of them, when we're gonna get back up to date and things like this? Here, I'm just looking at 1 year, and that's not telling me a whole lot, but when we get a tax up here, it's going to, going to go on, and it's supposed to help reduce that debt and all. I was just curious if
Larry, can you?
y'all have
I
done
can,
that.
I'd be happy to. That's a good point, Jack. When we make our mid-year adjustment in January, I am confident that we'll be able to do a 5-year projection on everything, expenditures, revenues, what have you. We're working on 5-year capital plans now. We just don't have all the numbers together yet, Jack.
Well, I was just thinking that might help explain things to tell us all, where are we headed? Here we're going up on taxes, and here we're headed for revenues, but I know what y'all are trying to do, and I understand where you're coming from. We got a problem. But tell us where we're gonna wind up out here.
We're gonna tell you that.
Okay.
And that's how I think we can address, salaries, all the, as you said, there will be debt that's retired. That millage is gonna stay the same. To be the eternal optimist, the perfect world would be to get this thing fixed in the next, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever, and then, potentially it rolls back. I don't know, but that's an excellent point, and that's, I guess, part of my point too, is that while you need to keep having these conversations year after year after year, you can't look at just one year, one slice of the pie, you do have to look at the whole pie, so.
Jack, let me ask you a question. You are you're our boss, and if we were to go up on the taxes, how do you think? I know nobody wants to go up, but do you think in general, most people understand where the city is?
That's what I was trying to give you some ideas as to how y'all are gonna have to settle. You're gonna have to settle.
So we're gonna have to sell.
Because everybody is anti-tax now. I'm an anti-tax. Me and you talked about it
That's
before. I guess the feds is what I'm the most
Okay,
upset
I
about.
wanna ask you a question. I'm anti-tax too,
Yeah.
but I live in the real world. How do you fix this? How do you fix it? Where do you cut?
Well, I was just wondering, I was just looking there, it says, code enforcement. I thought y'all had put the code enforcement together with the county, and the county was running it, but now it looks like we pulled code enforcement
We got code
back in.
enforcement.
But that's just one question I had, just looking at.
We pulled code enforcement, building inspections, and zoning, planning and zoning back into the city of Tifton when we passed all those other 5 services and then countywide services. We took that back. We wanted a higher level of service, and our guys are doing a very good job.
And that
But
department
why did
actually,
you do it? I mean, you didn't, I don't remember, I remember when you did it, but I don't understand, I don't remember why.
it actually cost us less to run it than when we had to pay into the county to run it. It cost us less because now we can take that revenue for building permits and fines and forfeitures, those type of things. So that particular department is actually running at a much more efficient cost for the city. It's costing less to run this way than it was the old.
But you're having to put in the retirement fund for those employees and all, I don't, but you know what,
Yeah, it's still.
I'm just.
And that
I'm
department's
just-
asked for another 1.5 persons, so it's growing.
And you're getting a real product.
Yeah, but the level of service was
Let's
a
say
big
it.
part of it, yeah.
You go around that.
Well, I can
The
take
net
this
cost,
back.
the net cost of running that department, even with other personnel there, is less than what we were paying the county.
When I looked at this budget initially, I told Larry when we had our first meeting, if this were my business, you would see a closed sign on it in about 3 days. We would dissolve the organization, it would be closed, and I'd be out looking for a job because it's that bad. It is truly that bad.
Thank you, Jack.
Let me ask the
I'd like
attorney.
to make one question.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine used to head the county, head the city up. He was the old Leroy Wright. Leroy came by my office one day and he said, we got a bunch of extra money here and all. He says, what you think about us reducing the taxes? I said, it's a lot easier to reduce them than it does to raise them.
But back then, you had.
Oh, yeah, I understand that. Yeah,
Well, the folks out here that's gonna watch this on TV don't.
yeah.
You had a water fund you could rob, you had a sewer fund you could rob, and you had a gas fund you
Oh,
could
yeah,
rob.
yes, it's big.
And you had a solid waste fund you could rob.
Mhm.
You can't touch them anymore.
I understand.
All right, I have this question. With property, I'm looking at the tax digest, and I just did some simple math, and my math is gonna be simple, but, we had $8 million in increase in property values this year, and that generated $21,000.
Right.
To generate a mill, we would have to have an increase in property taxes. The tax digest would have to go up by about $120 million to generate 1 mill of tax, which is
Correct.
just, that's not gonna happen.
So in a year
But
that
I
we
wanna
felt
know
really
this.
good, it was only
Property that
8.
is exempt from taxes within the city and within the county, can that ever be changed?
What's that?
That's one of the things that we had looked at, were looking at, and are looking at, as far as what property can be tax exempt.
Right.
And we have not come to any final conclusion. I have talked to some other city attorneys about that. That's an issue. And so there's some questions about whether or not there's some properties out there that are tax exempt and maybe should not be.
And that certainly needs to be in our 5-year plan.
It does.
But that is based on state law.
Yeah.
The big one right here, and we don't know where this is gonna go either, guys. We need to get back to that $3 million level in local option sales tax collections. And we're projecting next year that we're at 2.8 million. We gotta get back there.
We gotta grow more businesses,
Exactly.
and we've gotta be competitive to do that, and we've gotta be a well-run machine to do it. So, it's kinda like the chicken and the egg, which comes first.
Now, we can stand here and talk about this all night. What would council like to do as far as reviewing the budgets with the department heads? Do you want to have another meeting to go over it with them? Do you want me to meet with y'all individually or twos and ones or what?
I wanna go through this, I wanna meet with you.
Okay.
I wanna meet with you.
Y'all want me
That
to say
doesn't
that?
matter.
Yeah,
I
we
can
can
meet
meet.
with somebody, yeah,
I can meet at the same time here.
yeah.
Anybody else want? If you want to meet with me and go over the budget, just let me know when and what time, and we'll be there.
Chris and I will
Yeah,
get together and
we'll let
get
you
your
know.
Because
time.
I do encourage you, each and every one of you, like I said, there's no pride and authorship in this budget other than the hard work the staff's put in. If you find an error, if you see someplace that we've done something wrong, or if you see a way that we can do it better, we don't profess to be the all-knowing, we're not the holy grail here, so we're open to any suggestions that y'all may have.
Okay, so,
Good, I look forward to it.
pretty good.
All right.
Larry, do you think that, when we're doing the public hearings, do you think we need to get more in depth with this, or do you think those questions will just come up when we do the public hearings?
They're probably gonna come up when we do the public hearings, but this is a high level view of this thing.
Right.
I think if you get down in the weeds, you'll be here all night trying to explain it, because municipal government budgets are not simple things. It's not like running a regular business. It's government, you gotta follow different rules and regulations than you would do in the private sector. You know that.
Yeah.
Y'all know that.
Let's go back to the retirement thing real quick. The actuary said that, to kind of get that thing jump-started again, it's like $700,000.
Right.
Let's just use that math for right now. We don't really have I know this meeting is kind of more about the budget than it is retirement right now, so we're
That's
just kind of cursory overview of it, but is it feasible to maybe get a 2-year plan for that and go ahead and just allocate some money aside? Let's just say in this budget, and then the next year, complete that and more money, and then say, okay, now at the end of this cycle, we have this much cash. We can now make that infusion to the fund and get it back going again, and that's
Like
our
you're talking about
target.
with the radios. where
Right,
you're
exactly.
pre-planning for that.
Because to be quite frank with you, I'm about ready to cut that $1,000 radio thing, because personally, I feel our employees are more important right now than putting money aside for radios. Now, I understand we're gonna have them in 5 years,
Right.
but we need our people now. So I'm just thinking about getting us a plan to get there quicker. And even though radios are important, I don't wanna tell somebody, I'm sorry, you don't have retirement, because we need a radio in 2018.
That's 200,000 out of 730.
Well, that's just part of it. But to
I'm
answer,
with you.
my
I'm
question
with you.
though, can we do that? Is that
Absolutely.
feasible?
You
to
can
do that?
postpone funding the radios for 2 years.
That's just
It
Chris
just
talking.
seems like we could get, you can always, I know grant money's cut down to nothing, but, if you tend to confine grant money for those types of things, but you can't get grant money for personnel and retirement and those kind of
That's
things.
right. So that's some things I wanna talk with you, because I think Mary Ann and I we're on the same page with that as well, with the retirement thing, as she mentioned just a few minutes ago. So, I'm gonna go through this stuff and kind of go over with you some things I'd like to see.
Okay.
And maybe we can bring that to everybody's attention,
Sure.
if that's something that meets with your approval.
Hey, it's your budget, boss.
Well, we
No, I
But
agree with you.
you know what I'm saying?
We have 5 to 7 years. If we don't And keep in mind that half of that 100,000 a year, that's coming from the county. When we budget in our budget, we get reimbursed from the county, that's why it shows up as $100,000. Okay. But, having said that, and I spoke to Jim Carter this afternoon, he wants to go ahead and buy the fire, his part of the fire department radios. He wants to do it now. We don't want to wait. This is priority. But,
And they're in a lot better position.
so I will get with you guys
Well,
whenever.
you know, here we are, we're gonna, let's say Chris and I are gonna meet with you, the rest of y'all may meet with him, but when are we gonna be able, when are the rest of the council gonna hear mine and Chris's ideas? And when am I gonna hear theirs?
Right.
Well, that's
Before the
what-
20th.
That's what I'm trying to get to. I would love to have one meeting and we can go through all of it at one time with all 5 of them.
I think that's what we all do, because I do think we need a little bit more discussion amongst all of us.
We do.
I
Yes.
think so too.
Okay, well, we'll do this. Y'all pick the day, but we have to do it.
So we
We have a
have
meeting
one
Thur,
week.
we have to revise the budget by Thursday if we're gonna change it.
I tell you, just as a company moving forward in subsequent years, we really need to get this out a lot quicker.
We try
I
our
mean,
best.
really,
I know that.
I know y'all burn the midnight oil, but I'm just saying, this is 11-hour stuff,
It is,
so.
and I don't disagree with you, but have we done anything differently? You would have just. Spoken words. We need to get rid of numbers.
Y'all talking about meeting before June 20th?
Yeah,
So you're talking about meeting,
Monday or Tuesday.
I would like to have a special
Monday.
call workshop, preferably not later than Tuesday.
I think Monday.
I could be free the 19th.
That's Wednesday. I would have time to make changes to the budget.
What, look at your calendars for Monday.
yeah.
If are you talking about during the day or in the evening?
I'm available anytime, Monday or Tuesday.
I'm not good Tuesday or really Monday.
Me neither, please.
What about at night? Six o'clock, 7 o'clock.
I could do, I've got to be in Atlanta Tuesday for the day. I'll not fly out on Wednesday class. I should be finished around 3 or 4.
What about Monday?
I could do it during the day Monday, but
But
I'll be
Monday night,
leaving Monday
you have
night
to
to
go.
go up there, but, I could do it during the day Monday, or during the day Wednesday or Tuesday evening.
What
Y'all
about
could let me
Sunday?
get started, I could come in later.
What about Sunday afternoon?
I'm good.
Okay, let me say this.
You might not.
If we meet on Wednesday, we won't have time to make the changes
Right.
To
For
the
Thursday,
budget?
that's right.
for the 20th. But we will have time after that to make changes by the 28th. So Wednesday's an option.
I can do it Wednesday.
I can do it Wednesday.
Why don't we shoot for Wednesday then?
Yeah, we're just taking public comment.
Lunchtime?
You wanna do it noon Wednesday?
It's okay with me.
Uh-huh.
Noon, did you say?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yep.
Noon Wednesday, that's the 19th. Well, here,
I would rather do it,
What we doing at the complex, where we can get around the table?
wherever you want to.
okay, workshop, this is a workshop, so it's up to the public.
They're having court here on Wednesday, don't they?
Yeah.
This is on June 19th. 12 o'clock.
It says senior center's level. Oh, police department training room.
We'll make it available.
Police department training room, there's plenty of seating up there, if we have public come in, we can do it, but we can set up a circle up there and we can sit around with each other and talk about it, see what we need to do.
Well, we did interviews for the,
Pretty good budget.
did the interviews with, okay.
The training room, not a lot.
Oh, that's right, Trent, that's right.
That's what we did the budget hearings last year. with
That's
Paul.
right, that's right.
We did the
Well, let me
jobs,
tell
right?
you that I'll volunteer to go buy us lunch and bring it, but y'all have to pay me. But I will see that it gets here, if you want a sandwich from somewhere. But y'all can let me know after the meeting tonight,
Okay,
that I can
Okay.
physically get it.
that works.
Yeah, we'll try to move that.
We can't buy 11 that big truck. We work
Oh,
for
we
it.
are, I don't think
We are a big truck.
That's
What's a
right.
meal? What's a couple of sandwiches?
Well, same with yours.
Get the DDA buy it for us.
They're
They-
big.
What,
50
what,
bucks.
what do they say in Congress? Billion here, billion there, that's probably talking about real money. But noon, Wednesday, street department, or police department training week,
19.
To 19.
lunch week, right?
Got it.
Okay. Can we get home now?
We've always got a lottery tickets.
Okay, she just said, she gets a lottery ticket and wins, part of the money goes to the city. I just heard her say that.
I'll do that.
You can say what part.
I'll do that.
I got a meeting in the morning. Should be free in the afternoon.
Well, doctor, we're up here smiling and all that kind of stuff. Just keep me grinding, okay?
I'm doing number 2.
Right on.
Meeting adjourned?
That's not-
Meeting adjourned.
That's not.
Boy,